Hey everyone, welcome back to the Widowed Parent Podcast Live. I'm here this morning with Jim Santucci of Cara. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jenny. It's great to be here. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I should say welcome back because you were on the show, the regular weekly show, about this time last year. We did a special
That's right.
discussion on grief in the holidays, and we heard all about Cara as well. So I'd
hmm
encourage, since the holidays are approaching again, encourage listeners to go back and have a listen to that. But today we're here to talk about Cara and about the resources you guys have and the programs for people who may be in your area. So, first of all, where are you located?
So our main office is in Palo Alto, California, which we're about 30 minutes south of San Francisco proper.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're really we call it the San Francisco Bay Area.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And lovely picture in the background, by the way. I think
Sure.
people who are watching and not just listening maybe could guess where you were before. Before. But anyway, thank you. Okay, so tell us about what sort of programs you guys have.
Yeah, so Cara has been around for nearly over 45 years almost. So we're in our 44th year.
Wow.
And started with a small group of volunteers and has developed into a fairly sophisticated organization. We have about 14 employees, but our programs are peer-based programs. We do have some therapeutic support. We have a therapeutic program as part of our overall services, but the majority of our services are delivered in a peer-based model for children, for adults, for seniors, for families, really for the entire community. We also provide services for organizations that are experiencing a death crisis or they want some training on grief.
Okay. So you mentioned children, adults at different age. Can you tell us like what ages you serve or what age groups your programs are for?
Sure. So our adult program is really anyone over 18, and we provide one-on-one peer-based emotional support, and we also have groups. Now, everything with the pandemic going on right now, everything is primarily done in sort of a telehealth mode,
Mm,
and that at some point that'll transition back to in person, but that's primarily for our adults. We have some programs for young adults too. We have hiking groups, but those are all put on pause right now.
mm,
But for our children and what we call our youth and family services, it's really anywhere from 5-year-old till 17, 18-year-old, and we have age specific. We have a smaller group, a young, yeah, grammar school, I guess is the right word, middle school, and then teen groups.
mm-hmm.
And then while those groups are going on, we have groups for the, excuse me, caregivers or parents while those groups are happening. So we don't have one-on-one support for children, but it's all group-based support for children.
Okay. Peer groups. And so is this like a monthly group or how does that work? I mean,
Good
let's say not
question.
not during the pandemic, but presumably we'll
Right.
get back to normal times someday.
Yeah, that's it. So typically the groups run twice a month. On the second and fourth Tuesday or the first and third Wednesday. Those typically run twice a month, and they're ongoing for our youth and family groups. They're not time limited. We really believe, especially for children and for families as they're navigating a lost journey, that really their time is so important. Sort of let them decide when they're going to finish their services.
Mm,
Um, with our adult groups, they are sometimes time limited. So we may have a suicide survivor loss group, and that may be a 13-week group,
mm,
and then it's done after that period of time.
mm. And you mentioned for adults one-to-one peer support. It sounds unique. I haven't heard a lot of other people talk about that. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was a model that was developed back in the 70s through an organization called the Shanti Project. And they developed, Dr. Charlie Garfield developed this idea of companionship. And it's a lot of similarities to Alan Wolfelt, the companion model of grief support. Really, where you're providing a person just sort of emotional space and connection to allow them to sort of navigate their time. And so when someone is assigned a counselor, we call them counselors, but really they're not psychology counselors or official counselors, but they're a volunteer who's been trained. So we give at least 25 hours of training initially, and then ongoing training throughout the year. Every month, actually, they receive continued training and supervision as they meet with the individuals they're meeting with. And they'll meet with them for an hour and just allow that person to kind of process their grief and share with them what they've learned. If not a lot of advice is given, it's not not a fix-it model. It is more of a space model, a connection model,
Mm,
and we found that to be very healing for many people.
mm-hmm,
Um, and there are many people who do access our therapy support model, and those that model is developed like many other organizations where marriage and family or licensed social work associates who are being supervised, you know, meet with those individuals, and they're really for individuals who have your typical grief that's complicated by other types of trauma or emotional circumstances.
mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it sounds like you guys have very comprehensive offerings.
Yeah, we do. We like to say, there's the there's the adult program. There's the internally we describe it as an adult service program, youth and family service program, a
Mm-hmm,
therapy service program, our community outreach program, and we also have a Spanish service program. So
mm,
we offer these peer support services both in groups and one-on-one and Spanish, and we have a whole about 20 trained Spanish speaking volunteers who it's culturally attuned,
mm-hmm,
and we developed that 5 years ago. We started, and we've had a real good success in serving the Spanish speaking community to
mm-hmm,
really meet that cultural need.
mm-hmm. Terrific. So what about like who can participate in your programs? Are there qualifications in terms of types of loss or length, sense loss, or any other things like that that people should know about?
In general, anyone can, although, everyone that comes and requests any type of service receives a meeting and sort of an intake assessment, and
Mm,
we really try to meet that need. There may be a situation where someone's loss is maybe beyond the scope of our peer model, and that's where we would then, offer a therapeutic support
mm,
internally through our program or in the in the community. We have
mm,
referrals that oftentimes for that psychological or more intense support that's needed. Um, it is specific to only, death loss of a human. We don't support divorce loss or we don't support pet loss.
mm-hmm.
Although a lot of times in the support of that person, all these other issues come up. So it's not
Sure.
exclusive to that. But in general, if we can't support someone when they call us ourselves, we really try to find someone who can. That's part of our mission is to, if we can't provide the support, well, who do we know in the community that might be able to support them?
Terrific. So you guys would be a good place to start then to connect to those
Absolutely.
resources wherever they might be.
That's right. We have connections with other local hospices. We have and oftentimes with the pandemic, people are calling from maybe more outside of our local area,
Mm,
and so that's a little tricky because we want to support them. But thanks to you, Jenny, and the work you're doing is creating this wonderful portal of having other locations. We can refer them to
mm.
places in their neighborhoods and let them know, like in your community, why don't you check out this organization? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, great. And so for the kids and teenagers programs, are those people mostly who've lost a parent or a sibling then?
That's right. So for the teen and kids programs, it's primarily adult. Often, I would say the majority is a parent or a caregiver, someone who is a primary caregiver for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next tier is a sibling. We do also run an annual camp, a bereavement camp. It's called
Mm,
Camp Cara, and that's a weekend camp. This past year, we had to, postpone it due to the pandemic, but that's another offering we have for the children. It's an opportunity for them to bond with other children. Um, and usually we've had close to 100 children that are part of that camp every year.
wow, terrific. Okay, what ages is your camp for then?
That's from age 5 to 17 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so 5
Okay.
to 17. And that's usually held in July of every year.
Okay.
Um, and, with the pandemic, we're obviously trying to think of other ways that we can support that camp and create a uh, more dynamic camp versus a weekend event.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you for next July.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, terrific. Oh, I don't think I've asked yet about any sort of costs for any of your programs. How does that work?
That's a great question. So all our services are provided free of charge, other than our therapy
Oh.
services. We do have a sliding scale for our therapy services, but all of our peer-based services free of charge. We do ask for a donation. We're not shy about that. We believe by asking for donations, it sort of creates a extended value of our services. And people are never turned away for not being able to donate. But Most of our people who come to us donate at whatever level that works for them.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, totally offered, no strings attached. If you come to Cara, it's a service that we can provide for you. You don't have to worry about finances at all.
Mm. Yeah, terrific. Okay, one last wrap up question then here. I wonder if you could share with us how programs like yours can be helpful for grieving kids and grieving families.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we are able to provide a space and connection for someone who's grieving, an opportunity for them to connect with others that are sort of going through the same thing, so they don't necessarily feel so alone. And they're not only connecting with them, but just an opportunity just to navigate their own feelings and their own emotions. Whereas oftentimes in the regular day, uh, oftentimes they don't really feel like there's that space to do that. And I think our society in general doesn't do a good job of creating that space for us. So these are great ways for both kids and adults to come and get some support and feel like they can be heard and listened to and, supported along their unique journey that they're going on. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you. Yeah.
Terrific. Yeah, great. Okay, so you guys again are in Palo Alto, California. So for people who are in your general area, how can they find Kara?
Easiest way is on our website, cara-grief.org. Go to the website. You can submit a contact request form or call us at 650-321-5272. And that'll connect you with someone on our team, and then we can get some support for you if need be.
Okay, terrific. And Kara is Kara.
That's right. Sorry, yeah,
Okay.
Kara.
Okay,
And
-grief.com.
incidentally, Kara is the Gothic root of the word care. That's where
Ah,
that comes from.
oh, that's
So it's
lovely.
kara-grief.org. That's right.
Okay, terrific. Well, Jim, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for all that you do.